and welcome to the reading vlog. My name is Steph, and in this video I'm going to be reading two different books. The first one is one I've never heard about and I got from the library. That's the Two Doctors Gorski. I haven't heard anything about this at all. I just see the words psychiatric magic and survivor of academic abuse in the first line, so I'm going to read this second. But the first book I'm going to be reading in the video is The House on Watch Hill, and I have that on my Kindle. I'm really excited because I remember really loving her Fever series from a while ago. So I don't know how well it aged, but it was kind of following a girl whose sister was murdered, so she goes to Dublin to solve the mystery, but then discovers that there's a bunch of like fairies and supernatural creatures and vampires, and has this like 5-book, very slow burn romance with a grumpy, mysterious bookseller. So I have high hopes for The House on Watch Hill. Let's see what the book description actually says it's about. Okay, Zoe Gray is reeling from the sudden death of her mother when she receives a surprising call from an attorney in Louisiana with the news that she has been left an inheritance by a distant relative. So she inherits this house on Watch Hill with the condition that she must live in it alone for 3 years before the house or the money she has inherited from this mysterious relative is actually finally hers. Which is my favorite kind of micro trope. Like, here I'm gonna give you this incredible inheritance, but you have to live in this house of mysteries and lies and magic. Oh, but she won't be completely alone. So she moves into the foreboding Gothic mansion. Strange circumstances, doors that go leading to nowhere, red-eyed Stygian owl, and an impossibly sexy Scottish groundkeeper. Amazing. So I'm really excited to get started with this, and yeah, I will let you guys know how it goes. This will also be spoiler-free, I anticipate. Okay? Okay, hang on. Is this a witchy book? Once I wore my past, a crown of thorns, a cloak of penitence. So the lawyer has refused to give her any information about the inheritance until she actually physically goes to Louisiana and meets with him in person. So I'm just starting chapter 3 when that's happening. So far, I feel like we might be getting some witchy things in the future of this book. It definitely seems like it. There's like mention of potions and like hints of a botanical greenhouse where like herbs and things were being mixed together in the flashbacks or like little snippets from a character named Alistair. And Alistair, I'm assuming this is going to be our Scottish guy. He seems like quite a bit of an edgelord. Dark devouring vortex of my past. And you know, I'm okay with that. It's fun, whatever. We'll see how long it kind of goes on for. And yeah, our main girl, Zoe, I don't know how to feel about her yet. So she seems a little silly. Like, I think her internal monologue is supposed to be kind of funny. And that's the thing that I remember about the other series that I read by this author, is that the characters are written in a pretty like humorous way, but sometimes they can kind of get a little irritating. And that's how the Fever series started out for me, but then it had one of the best character arcs that I've ever read. But this girl is like not half as irritating. She is a little bit older, a little bit more mature than the main character in Fever, and like used to working a lot of jobs. It sounds like they moved around a lot when she was young, and the mom wouldn't talk about her father at all. And so the inheritance is coming from the mom's side, but that's really as far as I've gotten so far. So effing cold right now, but I refuse to turn the heat on, which, don't get me wrong, I love that, but I just wish that Australian houses had better insulation. So I think I'm gonna go to a coffee shop in a little bit and read, and I'm really craving a cinnamon bun. I'm loving this book so much. I'm loving it. I'm having so much fun. Okay, I flew through the first probably 30%. I stopped around like chapter 12. I don't know where my Kindle is right now, but yeah, so yesterday I started reading the book. I read it late into the night. Well, late for me is like 10:30 p.m. Wow. And I'm really loving the main character. Like, I know that earlier on I said that I really wasn't sure because the way that she comes across in the very, very first chapter, it seems like she might be a little ditzy. Like, she's kind of funny and she's really direct. Like, that's the thing about her. She really knows what she wants. Zoe is very direct. She goes after it, whether she's like, I want to sleep with that person, or I need to get this job, or like, I want answers about XYZ. I love that about her, but in the very first chapter of the book, she's trying to get a job because her mom is still alive. Her mom has cancer, and she's, got a lot of debt associated with medical bills that she's got to pay. But she faints in the middle of a job interview and has like some burning feeling in her body and has like heart palpitations. And it turns out that her mom died in a fire while she was in the interview. So she had like almost this sense of like what happened, I think. I'm not totally completely sure what's going on right now, but part of me is like, the last vlog that I filmed was the series of unfortunate events. So I'm like immediately thinking, did somebody set the fire? No, this is not a series of unfortunate events. But then somebody else mentioned that there was a fire. My brain is just all over the place right now. But that's all to say that I really like Zoe, our main character. She's fun to follow. And I like that she also seems like she's pretty smart. You know when you're reading a book and you're reading the characters' thoughts and as they're trying to work things out, but it feels like they're almost deliberately not thinking about that like one thing that the reader is like, is this not a glaring possibility just for the sake of plot? Like, that doesn't happen. For Zoe, the thing that her mind goes to first is the thing that my mind goes to first. She is, I think, thinking about things really logically. And she didn't grow up with a whole lot of money, right? So when she first inherits this insane amount of cash and this house with like staff, she immediately recognizes the amount of responsibility that comes along with it because she is essentially an employer in providing jobs for this smaller town called Divinity, which I think is a fake town in Louisiana. I can't find pictures. Yeah, so that's really my update. I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving the descriptions of the house, the atmosphere. It definitely is feeling witchy, especially with the Stygian owl, which I Googled, and apparently their eyes reflect red sometimes. But if you see a picture of them when they're in normal lighting, they look like just little cute weirdos. They're really, really cute. And I'm so excited to see more of this house and the grounds because there's caves in one area and it's set in the southern states, right? Which to me, as like somebody from northern Canada where like -50 was expected every winter, the bayous, and like crawfish and like stuff like that feels like so exotic and interesting. So I love that kind of magical-esque setting and like the Louisiana setting. There's definitely something witchy going on, but it's really like an undercurrent in the book still. We don't really know what's going on. It seems like there's good guys and there's bad guys, and like the bad guys are having phone conversations that we kind of get a glimpse into. Part that I stopped at, she has just gone to a bar or like a club thing with the Scottish groundskeeper guy that is working on her property. It's called Something Wicked This Way Comes, and everybody in the town seems like they are Scottish immigrants or like Celtic, Gaelic immigrants to this like little small town. So I have a feeling, I don't know, this is not confirmed, but for reasons in that chapter, I am expecting that the whole town might be magical to some extent. Like even our main girl kind of shows like little things where it's like, is that magic or is she, just a little bit woo-woo? Because I could kind of see it going either way. I'm thinking it might be magical. I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun with it. She really writes like a romance author in some ways. Like when it comes to like seeing this guy or something like that, you go full romance and it's like, he had shoulders that were so big, or no. But the main story is really focused on all of the mysteries. It's definitely not horror, but like spooky, atmospheric, and like very fun mystery. Oh no, how do we pronounce this? Zodaki? Zodakai? Zodaki?
emphasis on the first syllable.
Okay, I am at about 70% right now. I can't say anything about it. I'm obviously by this. I am enjoying it so much. I can't say anything about it because things are happening and I want it to be spoiler free, but the world building has just really exploded. There was a moment where somebody arrived and it became a little bit info dumpy for like one chapter, just sort of like, let me now explain the reality that you live in. And then the kind of plot kicked into action again. And there was this moment which felt kind of like the spoilery, like not very spoilery, but it felt kind of like Chamber of Secrets, where Harry is writing into the journal and it's like writing back to him and responding to him. There was like a moment that felt kind of similar to that, and it just had my heart pumping because if you can't see its brain, you shouldn't be talking to it. Right, Mr. Weasley? Oh my gosh. I'm enjoying this book a lot. That's all I can say. Good morning. So I finished The House on Watch Hill last night and I loved it, but what a cliffhanger. I am almost on the verge of a reading slump that ended on such a cliffhanger. I really hope that she's one of those writers that can just pump out the books and that we won't have to wait an entire year because this only just came out on October 1st, but I really enjoyed it. It definitely felt like a first book. So this, I don't think I've mentioned it before, is the first book in a trilogy. And I think that was kind of obvious in that you can tell that she was laying a lot of the groundwork, doing a lot of the world building, because there is a fair amount of world building to do. It's kind of like an urban fantasy, paranormal-esque type of world. Anybody who enjoyed maybe Discovery of Witches would like this book. Like, there isn't the same emphasis on academia in this, but there is that sort of vampires and witches and discovering like your inheritance and your power and family mysteries and secrets and, you know, good and bad kind of up against each other. But I think this book might get a little hornier later on in the series, although it's not smutty. Like, there wasn't any kind of detail or anything like that given. I just have that feeling from her other books that there might be later on in the series, but I don't know. So now that I've had a little bit of time to process, I think I am ready to pick up the Two Doctors Gorski. I have a feeling that this might actually be a super different vibe from The House on Watch Hill. Okay, so it says Anna, N-A, A-N-N-A-E, a brilliant graduate student in psychiatric magic and survivor of academic abuse, can't stop reading people's minds. This is how she protects herself, by using her abilities to know exactly how her colleagues view her. This is how she escapes the torturous experience of her own existence. She moves to England to rebuild her life, finishes her studies under the seminal magician Marie Gorski, infamous for bringing to life a homunculus made from his unwanted better self. She sees inside his head a man who is both a destructive force to everyone around him and her mirror image. I hope we didn't just read what's gonna happen in the entire book for this. Yeah, I haven't read anything else about this. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what the reviews are like. I just thought that psychiatric magic sounds kind of interesting. Let's give it a go. So I will be back on some thoughts, probably just have maybe 2 check-ins. We'll see.
It's funny you said, you look like such an English rose, but then you open your mouth. If she had ever thought of herself as a rose, it would be a withered one. Crisp, dry, and delicate.
Yeah, around 30%, page 43, chapter 2. And I'm really enjoying this total gear shift. But Anne is doing her degree in psychiatric magic. As I said before, most people are using like magic and like botany and like doing this kind of thing. But she's really focused on exploring the area of consciousness and like the mind, and hoping that she can kind of use magic to cure mental illness. So she's interesting because there is this element of empathy to her, but there is a real coldness to her as well. So all I really know so far is that her previous institution in America, there was a lot of academic abuse between her and her supervisor. And so she's transferred in and she didn't really have any other options except to work with Dr. Gorski. He was the only person who would take her to finish her work. But what she does that makes her come across as almost cold is how she goes into other people's minds, because she'll ask somebody a question like, oh, did you look me up online? And she won't even listen to their answer. She'll just jump straight into their mind and start like sifting through everything in their head that is related to the question. You know, there's almost a lack of caring there in some ways. So I'm finding her pretty interesting. And in terms of like the magic and like science and academia, it feels almost a little Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell-esque with this additional layer of academic abuse. So I'm really curious where we're going with it. I'm enjoying it quite a lot. It's really well written.
I just have to also say there are some really good insults in this. Like there's an email exchange between her current supervisor and her past supervisor, and her past supervisor is trying to like sabotage her work kind of already. So very funny.
Okay, totally unexpected. I finished it. That's not the unexpected part. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And I mean, I went in with low expectations. This had like a 3.4 something on Goodreads, which is sometimes like a red flag to me. But other times those are like my books, and I might need time to process this one, but it might be one of my books, you know? Oh, he wants to say hi. Oh, no, he's gonna lick his butt. We'll give him some privacy. I'm not gonna say a whole lot about the plot really because it's quite short. There's not a whole lot I can really say without spoiling it. Essentially, Dr. Gorski and Dr. Gorski are both kind of her academic advisors because one is in psychology and one is in magic, and she's trying to kind of bridge the gap. Okay, I feel like I'm rambling a little bit because there's so much in this like teensy tiny skinny little book. And I think that it really appealed to me, and I really appreciated it because I studied psych, worked in academic research in neuropsych. So this book deals a lot with like imposter syndrome and issues of consent in research and in practice, and you know, in her whole magical powers, academic abuse, and like power dynamics. It was so well done. Like I would actually say, even though it is a very weird book and there are moments that it feels kind of disjointed, I would say this is one of my top academic, dark academia kind of books ever. You know, not the top. It's not, nothing will unseat The Secret History for me, obviously, but this was just so fresh and so unusual and different. He's done licking his butt now. I just thought it was a very unique take and like a very accurate depiction of academia and academic life and operating in that culture in general. I really enjoyed this book, obviously. 10 out of 10, which brings us to the end of the vlog. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. If you've read either of these books, I would love to gush about them with you in the comments. Let me know. If you have any book recommendations for me that sounds like maybe I would enjoy them because of any similarities, whatever, leave them for me in the comments too. I would love to hear about it, and I will see you guys again very soon in another video. Bye.